It's time now for Call of the Wild, the official weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild. Stay up to date with your team all season long with Call of the Wild. With head coach and GM Bliss Littler, here's the voice of your Wenatchee Wild, Arch Ecker.
Hello and welcome to Call of the Wild, your weekly Wenatchee Wild coaches show. It's going to be broadcast on NCW Live as well as juniorhockey.com and juniorhockey.ca. I'm Arch Ecker, the radio voice of the Wenatchee Wild, and joining me is Wild head coach and general manager Bliss Littler. Bliss, it's a great opportunity to advance this program and advance the show.
Well, I know we're both excited, and as an organization, we're thrilled.
Definitely. Well, Coach, this is going to be your second year now in the BCHL, and tell me a little bit about the change that, as an organization, you had to endure coming from the North American League to the BCHL.
Well, first off, I'd like to congratulate West Kelowna for winning the Royal Bank Cup last spring. Also congratulate the BCHL, Penticton V's, and the Chilliwack Chiefs for combining to have 3 NHL first-round draft picks. Where it just goes to show you that if you're an absolutely elite hockey player, that you want to play in one of the 2 best leagues in North America, to advance yourself to college hockey and have the opportunity to go in the first, second round of the NHL draft, play for a national team. This is a great opportunity for you. To get back to your question, though, Arch, we had to get used to hopping on a bus instead of hopping on planes, going on 1 and 2 day trips instead of going on 2-week trips. So it was overall everything was a positive. That we got to play teams that are nice and close. That people brought fans here. That again, we're sad to see our partners in the North American Hockey League go, but we're very excited to join a new league in the BCHL, where looked at as the top developmental league for college hockey players in Canada. So we got to join a very elite league, and it's something that we're very proud of.
There had been some banter about the team possibly joining the BCHL for a number of years, but at what point last year did you really become fully aware that it was going to happen, and how much time did that leave you to prepare for recruiting for a different league?
Boy, we didn't know that it was going to happen until the final approval wasn't until the first weekend of June. So we were kind of in an area that we weren't sure what was going to happen, and it was like we got to that point that our players were all released, that we weren't going back to the NA, and there's about a month there that we really couldn't do a lot. But I think it was as soon as we got the word from Hockey Canada and USA Hockey that we were granted an expansion franchise, that at that point we went really hard recruiting with what we could. So no doubt we got a very late start a year ago, but I still think we had a very, very successful year on and off the ice.
So that leads into how much better or easier was it for you this year, the recruiting process, as opposed to that year?
Well, in recruiting, I don't think you ever want to use the word easy very, very often. That recruiting's hard work, no matter where you're at, what league you're in. If your staff's not recruiting hard, they're not recruiting well enough. But what was a big difference is generally in the North American League, if you have a younger player that does well, he automatically jumps to the USHL. Here, college will tell a kid, we don't care where you play. If you want to go to the USHL, that's fine. If you want to stay in Wenatchee in the BCHL, that's fine. So we were able to keep the majority of our players.
After viewing the BCHL from the outside for your 20-plus years as a head coach, what has surprised you most about the league now that you're a part of it?
Well, I think I knew it was going to be a very good league, but the high end in the league is a little higher than I thought. That I wasn't, I don't want to say prepared, but seeing 3 first-round NHL draft picks is something that you weren't going to see in the NAHL. But you would see that in the USHL, and I coached there for over 12 years, so it wasn't something that was shocking that way. But to see 3 of them in one season that was a little bit shocking that how good the top end was.
I think fans watch games maybe a little bit differently than coaches watch games, but comparing the two leagues, the fans have really embraced this switch. But for you as a coach, you maybe look at it a little bit differently. But what's the biggest difference between, aside from the high end, but from the BCHL and the North American League?
You know, the North American League's a very good hockey league. It's, again, the USHL, the BCHL, North American Hockey League are definitely the top three leagues in North America at moving players on to college. So there's no taking shots at any league. That all three leagues have their great things about them. All three have their things that they're not proud about. But the short time I was in the NA, the last 2 years, we went real young. I coached it like it was going to be a USHL team, and if players would move on to the USHL at the end of the year, whatever it was, that was good for us. But we play. The style of play in the BCHL is very offensive. The style of play in the NA, it's a much older league. Even though they've made progress at what I believe is getting younger, it's still a very old league, which in one regard makes it really difficult to play in, where it becomes very difficult to score. In the BCHL, I think that teams would just as soon win a game 6-5 and show a lot of skill than win 2-1. But on our part, we like to get up and down the ice, make a lot of plays, and so for us, it was a nice change.
You talked about the recruiting process, and it is a lot of work, not just for you, but for your staff as well. So tell me about the challenges and what makes it easy and what makes it difficult to recruit kids when it's a player's market, so to speak, to come to Wenatchee.
Well, Arch, you've been here about 4 months. I know you'd been out here in the past with Topeka, but all you have to do is get past the sign that says capital of the world, and you're in a beautiful place. I mean, you're in the middle of the mountains here, beautiful place, unbelievable rink. Again, team does well, 3,000 people a night. It's a great atmosphere for players to play in front of. And I just think it's got a really good history. The hockey that they've had here in Wenatchee, regardless of the league, regardless of the coach that's been here, regardless of ownership groups, Wenatchee's been spoiled. It's had very good hockey. So I think when kids look at the history, when they look at right now, when they look at the ownership of what David White, how he treats his players, how he treats his staff, I think it's a no-brainer when players when they get here, they see that, and kids from 1 year talk to the next year, and again, I think Wenatchee's got a very good reputation in the hockey world.
Well, and certainly the fact that you've had so many players that come back year after year, that's a strong testament to the positivity of what you have going here. We talked about your staff a little bit, and I wanted you to have the opportunity to address that, because you've surrounded yourself with some great hockey people. And without them, of course, it's difficult for any franchise to thrive, but you've got some great hockey minds around you. Talk about them.
Well, our associate head coach, Tom Rudred, who runs our D, and he's our recruiting coordinator. Tom has over 30 years experience as a USHL head coach, as a North American Hockey League head coach, as an assistant coach in the North American League, as an assistant coach at Ferris State, as an assistant coach with Division I college hockey. And I've also worked with Tom on a U.S. national team. So Tom has lots of experience. Chris Clark, an assistant coach, goalie coach. He's another one that he's been here for 8 years. He's starting his 9th year. He's never not had a Division I goalie that year. And over that time period, he's had 2 that have been taken as NHL draft picks. Michael Zucker, another guy he has a wealth of experience, from the Everett Silvertips in the Western Hockey League to Denver University, to the Omaha Lancers, to the Youngstown Phantoms, to out here helping us for the 4th or 5th year now. So again, on that end, again, I think we have as experienced coaching staff as there probably is in junior hockey at any level.
You're watching and listening to Call of the Wild, the weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild. I'm Arch Ecker along with Bliss Littler. And Coach, I want to talk about a little bit about some of the returning veterans. And we alluded just a couple of moments ago to the fact that a number of them elect to return here even when they have other options. So I wanted you to have an opportunity to run through some of those guys that are coming back again, and namely Brendan Harris, who's back for his fourth year.
Well, Brendan, he's a very dynamic player. When we got him, I think he was 132 pounds. He's up to 175 now, and he's ready to play college hockey. But I think Bemidji State looks at it as saying, hey, if you'd play as a 20-year-old, you extend your playing career a year. That your body's going to be bigger, more ready to handle a man's league that the WCHA is.
As among the other returners, 4 of your top 10 scorers from last year come back. So let's talk about some of the other guys that wore the Wild sweater last year that are back.
Well, Charlie Combs, I think he turned into a fan favorite. The kid can flat out score. We're very excited to have Charlie back. Dakota Raby, one of the quicker players I believe in the BCHL. Kid he'll have a college commitment in my guess in the next 4 to 6 weeks. That he's had a great preseason. Troy Conzo, who's committed to UMass, he's another player that he'll be starting his 3rd season here. Again, we expect a big season out of Troy. Colin Burston played here 2 years ago, had a great season, went to Fargo last year for the first half in the USHL, and came back the second half, got his confidence back. He's ready for a breakout season. Another kid that should have a college commitment real soon. And Matt Baker, I think he could be the biggest surprise of the year to our fans. That he was our 4th line center, but he played on our power play last year. He's ready for a huge year. So again, that's six returners up front that I don't know if we could be more excited about the group that we have coming back up front.
We'll talk about some of the new players in just a moment. I wanted to switch back to the blue line. And, today's defenseman needs to be a little more versatile than maybe they used to in the past. They definitely need to be a stay-at-home sometimes. They need to have the ability to rush the puck. Some guys are better at one than the other. Mm-hmm. For you as a head coach, what's your preference, or do you definitely see a need to mingle both?
Well, you definitely need a mix. Especially we found in the BC League that everybody had 1 or 2 of those guys that were 6'3" to 6'6", that could play, that had a little bit of a physical presence to them. But on the other hand, you have to have guys who can make plays and move the puck and create some offense. And again, I think it's a combination, and I think we have that right now.
Is size overrated on the blue line at times?
At times, but I do think you have to have it. I do think that you don't want to throw 6 guys out there that are 5'8" and 130 pounds. Eventually, some of those wear down, but I think you can put 3 or 4 kids that are not that you may call undersized. But if anything, as a coaching staff, we err on the skating and skill side more than on the brawn side.
And then in the net, you talked a little bit earlier about the history that the Wild have with strong goaltending. And let's talk about the goaltending situation for this season.
Well, again, going in right now, Garrett Nieto comes back, committed to Lake Superior State, had a phenomenal rookie season in the BCHL, named to the all-rookie team. And we expect that he's going to have every opportunity to carry the male force. And again, he's come back in great shape, and he's one of our leaders. So we feel very good in goal right now.
With guys like Chase Perry in the rearview mirror, and Matt Caruth and Brandon Yeager, and some of the guys that have been very successful in franchise history, does that throw a long shadow for new guys coming in? Do they wear that at all?
Oh, I hope not. I hope not. I hope they look at that and they use it as confidence that kids before them have come in and on different teams that have played in Wenatchee and have been able to get drafted and move on. And like Caruth is playing a good level of pro hockey right now, and Chase Perry he'll be starting the year at RPI. But for the most part, I think you want to use that as a strength, and you don't want to you don't want to make that a negative where they start gripping their stick a little tighter.
Different coaches have different approaches to the process of naming captains. Tell me about yours.
Well, we do a leadership book with the whole team, and we work at it really hard. I think that junior hockey is probably the first time that your captain doesn't necessarily have to be your best player. That it's nice when your best player, your hardest worker, is your captain. But sometimes it's your hardest worker, your guy with the best character, and he may not be a power play guy. He might be more of a heart and soul type guy, and that's all right too. But our process is we go through a whole leadership book, and as the players emerge and through different drills on and off the ice that we do, you see that emerging who your leaders are. But at some point, the kids come in and they'll pick a captain and a couple of assistants, and then from there we'll add 2 or 3 other kids to what I call our leadership group that meets every Monday, and we go through the issues that we may or may not have.
For the first time, the Wild had the opportunity to play a handful of preseason games here at home. You came out of that 4-game set, 3 wins and 1 loss. Tell me what you learned about your team over the course of those 4 games and 2 weeks of camp.
Well, I guess the most overrated thing in preseason is winning and losing. But when you keep scoring, you generally want to win. So it's always nice to win. But we were hoping to kind of weed out. We think we're very heavy on the back end. We still have 10 defensemen here, and we have some very tough decisions to make in the next week or so. But it didn't weed itself out. We thought everybody played well for the most part, and all 10 of them they bring something to the table, and we could go in a number of different directions. And right now we have to figure out what we're going to keep and what we can move to try and make our team better someplace else.
Over the 4 games, 20 different players hit the score sheet with either a goal or an assist. So that certainly doesn't help your decision-making process.
No, but it's a good thing. That again, I always like scoring to be spread out, and I think we're going to be extremely deep that way. I couldn't tell you who's going to lead us in scoring, but I do feel that we'll have numerous guys on the score sheet every night.
The regular season gets underway September 14th at Prince George, beginning the season way up in the northern part of the province, as you did last year. What do you know about this year's Prince George Spruce Kings?
They will have new faces. When they came down here in February, their coach wasn't even with. They sent their assistant coaches and their general manager down. Their head coach, I think, spent most of February on the road recruiting, trying to get a little bit of a head start on other teams. So they've recruited hard. They blew up a team from Alberta last weekend. They won both games going away, I guess. So I'm sure they're much improved, and it's a second year head coach. So I'm sure he'll have his culture's kind of been inserted last year, and I'm sure they'll be much improved. And we go into a tough building, and I'm sure we'll have our work cut out for us.
I guess my last question for you has to do with early in the season, team building is huge. Bus rides are a lot different from plane rides. And you get to start off the season with a nice 11-hour plus bus ride to kick things off, whereas in the past it was a plane ride and was so different. So talk about how bus rides can help a team come together.
Well, the more time you spend around each other, again, I believe the better. That everybody starts out with a group. I've never been handed a team. You have to build a team, and that starts with the players caring. And to care, you need to get to know each other, and to do that, you have to spend time. You have to invest time, and the more time you invest with each other, the more you're going to care about each other. And once you start caring about each other, then you have the makings of a team.
There you go. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Call of the Wild. Coach, we're looking forward to continuing this throughout the year.
Arch, I am too. I feel real good about the group we have here, and let's see where this group can take themselves.
So there you go. That'll wrap it up. It's this week's edition of Call of the Wild on your Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.
You've been listening to Call of the Wild, the official weekly coaches show of the Wenatchee Wild, a presentation of the Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.